Good afternoon, namaste, my dear respected parents, dear students who are watching this Kriti Television. Dear parents, students, due to the unfavorable situation, COVID-19 coronavirus throughout the world, nowadays we teachers are not coming face-to-face teaching in school. I mean, students and teachers are not meeting face-to-face, and teaching has been a little bit difficult. But the Nepal government, let's say the local government, Dharan, sub-metropolitan city Dharan, has conducted such type of distance learning, education, online classes, and some alternative classes to reach education to the doors of the students. The education stakeholders of basically Dharan have been playing a vital role to benefit students their education. To minimize the academic loss of students' learning, to compensate the teaching learning process, the government and we teachers have been mutually working to each other, and I think my dear students and guardians, you are getting benefit day by day, because the Kriti Television of Dharan is only one television which is playing a great role to give you the good education through distance education system. Students, I myself, me also one of the stakeholders of education sectors. Let me introduce myself, my dear students. I think you have seen me somewhere, right? I am an English teacher from Bhanasmriti Secondary School. I have been teaching English more than the decades, and also I am a teacher of AIMS College and White House College, Dharan. In morning session, I am teaching there. Today, I am present here to teach you English subject of class 10, unit 3. You are looking here, I think you are watching the title, the ant and the grasshopper, right? Students, studying or reading is enjoying, Don't say, some students tell me, sir, English is very hard. English is difficult. Don't feel so. English is, I generally say that, English is easy if you are busy, Busy for what? Studying, not playing only mobile, not playing the PUBG. Engage your mind for studies. Student. And I also generally say, student, if you do hard labor, you can be clever. It means clever for what? Clever for studying, labor for studying, learning. Anyway, this is for your, drawing attention. Student, language learning, basically it means, there are 4 levels. Already I mentioned you. What are the 4 levels? Listening, speaking, reading and writing. They are interrelated to each other. Why they are interrelated to each other, my dear students? Because when you listen something, you are interested to read, speak, and again you are interested to read out what you have spoken and what you have listened. Thereafter, you want to write, because writing is a permanent skill, and writing and speak all. This is your identity. If you speak more, good you start speaking, better you can understand, my dear student. Good you write, better you can make your good career. So, study, reading is the greatest thing, my dear student. And it is said, reading makes man perfect. What makes man perfect? Reading. What the greatest scholar of English, Francis Bacon, said that practice makes man perfect. What makes man perfect? It is practice. Practice make student perfect, practice make teachers perfect, and practice make everybody perfect. Okay, telling this much, my dear student, let me start formally today's class, the ant and the grasshopper. Have you heard the story about the ant and grasshopper? Is a fable story, you know. Fable story, it means niti katha. Look it. Some insect or animals are presented and their characters are animated to us humans to teach us lesson. I think you have heard the story because the ant and grasshopper, Mr. Ant and grasshopper are presented here. They are found in a locality here and there, right? How do you know the grasshopper characteristics and how do you know the characteristics of the grasshopper? Ant is, you know, industrious, laborious insect. It walks in group. Hera hera sathi ho, kamila ko tati ho. It walks in group. And Mr. Grasshopper is very careless. He hops from one place to another, jumps. And he always lies on leaves, careless. Look at his position. And the story also same thing. You know what happened? In what happens in the story? Ant was doing hard labor to store the food for the winter. Have you heard the story of grasshopper and ant? Perhaps you might have heard. And what happened that the grasshopper came near to the ant and said, "Oh, Mr. Ant, how long are you working so hard? Don't work, enjoy with me," he said. But ant kept on working. He said, "My dear fellow, you must work hard tomorrow for the winter. Winter is a bad weather." He said, "No, I have already collected the food. No problem. I'm great. I have done already." Unfortunately, winter also came. The ant, you know, the ant already entered in his warm, cozy habitat. Aramdayak bastanma pugyo. And he started eating nicely. But this man went shortage of food. The grasshopper went shortage of food. And he went near to the ant. "Give me some food. I am shortage of food." "Oh, you came to ask. Before what you are saying? You are saying that I have lot of food. I don't need labor. Now what happened? You keep on dancing and singing. No problem." Who said? Ant said. Okay. This is what the story, my dear student. Look at what's out the second, the picture you are watching. What is grasshopper doing? He's playing the guitar. He's playing guitar. Again, he's not serious. But what ant is doing? He's carrying food on grains. He's saving food for tomorrow. And the first picture also, you paid attention, I think. He was carrying the seeds to eat for his family, for his friends. Okay, same thing, same thing happens in this story. Who is the grasshopper now? Who is the potangro? And who is the ant? We have to know through these characters, my dear student. Look at the first character is narrator. Story means, my dear student, story means three things keep in mind. First, characters. Second, action. Third, dialogue. Then after the setting, something else. Story is very interesting. What happens next? What happens next? You keep on mind. Okay? So, look at what happened. The narrator, first character, his look. How do they look like, my dear student? The narrator writer is very intellectual. He is reading. And second, main character, George Ramsey. He looks very serious, respectable. He's a main character. He's a friend of writer. Look at the third fellow. He's what? He looks like, oh my, romantic. He looks like comedian. He's careless, carefree like grasshopper. Look at the last fellow, Cronshaw. His friend, he looks like smuggler, blackmailer. And he's a friend of Tom Ramsey. I think you got something, my point, that what about the story? Well, my dear student, I think now better we should go to the text. You know, already I mentioned that reading is enjoying. Now we have to keep in mind what happened as the story before we told. How do the characters play there? Reading means, it means what? Enjoy. Look at. Who is speaking? First person narrator. That I picture, in the picture I showed, a writer is speaking. I could not help thinking of this fable. Fable means moral story. Okay student, today my plan is to teach you 4 paragraphs because this is the long story, and I have to give you the word meaning of the highlighted words, right? And then we do some questions for the first session, okay? So let's read out with me. First read out the first lesson, my dear student. How you read? I could not help thinking of this fable when the other day I saw George Ramsay lunching by himself in a restaurant. I never saw anyone wear an expression of such deep gloom. He was staring into space. He looked as though the burden of the whole world sat on his shoulder. Bichara, kasto dukha diyecha usko bhaile. Look at burden. I was sorry for him. I suspected once. It means writer made a doubt. What trouble happened to my friend? That his unfortunate brother had been causing trouble again. I went up to him. It means I, writer, went near to his friend Ramsay and held out my hand. He was, I think, going like this. Now held out his friend. Hello friend, how are you? I asked. He said, I am not in hilarious situation. I am not feeling happy. Spirits. आज मलाई कुनै आनन्द छैन साथी. He answered. Who answered? Mr. Ramsay. Okay, is it Tom again? That your grasshopper brother? Tom again? He sighed. Sighed means what? Took the long breathing, you know. Oh, त्यही बजिया मोरो त हो त त्यही फटा हो. Yes, it is Tom again. Why don't you chuck him? Okay, writer, his friend is suggesting, why did you abandon him? That dirty fellow. Why? You have done everything in the world for him. तो भाइको लागि तिमीले संसारमा गर्यौ, कति दुःख गर्यौ. You must know by now that he is quite hopeless. That he is quite hopeless. It means, my dear student, the first paragraph, writer introduced 2 characters. Mr. Ramsay, respectable man. He is like an ant. He is very serious, laborious. But his brother is very what? He's like the virus, like coronavirus. He is like a sola kira, sola insect, who is troubling the farmers in the western side, eating the leaves of maize. He's very trouble. Okay, let's go to the, my dear students, in the second paragraph. I suppose, the writer comment. What writer comment? I suppose every family has a black sheep. You know what do you mean by black sheep? Black sheep means unfortunate person, reject person. What is called Nepali? Kulangar. Barbad parne. Dasari. Why? Tom had been a sore trial to him for 20 years. Look at his brother George Ramsay was victimized or suffering from his unfortunate brother. Who is he? Tom Ramsay. He had begun life decently enough. Okay, being a brother of Ramsay, at first he had begun life decently. Decently means nicely. राम्रो गरी त जिन्दगी त सुरु गरेको थियो. कसरी? How did he start his life? Tom, he went into business. Yes, started working in business. Married. Yes, he got married. And had 2 children. Okay. The Ramsays were perfectly respectable people. And there was every reason to suppose that Tom Ramsay would have a useful and honorable career, my dear student. Yes, At the very beginning, the morning shows the day. Have you heard the proverb? I think you have heard. Morning shows the day. बिहानीले दिउँसोको संकेत गर्छ भने जस्तै सुरुमा त that Tom Ramji was perfectly working. He was little bit good. It means, what did he? He went into business. He married and got 2 children. And the writer comment that Ramjes were perfectly respectable people. I mean, their family, respectable people. Their honorable career. You know, career means, my dear student, career means occupation, skill. But one day, without warning, he means who? No, he means Tom Ramsey, that grasshopper fellow, announced that he didn't like work. Little bit, let me see. That he didn't like work and that was not suited for marriage. He declared, म यस्तो काम गर्दिनँ, मलाई यो सुहाउँदैन, अब मातियो के? He wanted to enjoy himself. Yes, look at that picture before I showed you. I will again show. He was careless. के भन्छ? Enjoy himself. He would listen to no expostulations, no logics, no convinces. He listened. He went out of track, leaving wife. He left his wife and his office. My dear student, look at that dirty fellow, the trouble fellow. He left his wife. He left his job. He had a little money and he spent 2 happy years in the various capitals of Europe. Yes, he had little money, earned from that brother's office maybe. And now what he started doing? He started enjoying with a little money, spending happy years in the various capitals of Europe. He started enjoying, leaving the job, leaving the wife. He's starting like this what? Yes. He now slowly going wrong track, like the grasshopper, careless. Rumors of his doings reached his relations from time to time, and they were profoundly shocked. Look at his relations, who are? I think his relations from wife's side, his brother, his family, all listen. Oh, he is reaching in different, wrong track. They are profoundly shocked, means his relatives are shocked. When such people happens in family, my dear students, what happens? Such type of black sheep people happen in our family. We are really shocked, really hurt. Okay? They shook their heads. They shook their heads. What to do? And asked what would happen when his money was spent. He had little money. When that money finished, what he would do? अब के गर्छ पैसा सकेपछि त्यसले त्यो कुलङ्गारले जब बुढी पनि छोड्यो जागिर पनि छोड्यो टोम रामजेले. They soon found out, yes, the result came of his bad works. The result appeared, He borrowed what? Money. He borrowed money. Without money, no honey. We know. He was charming and unscrupulous. Charming, yes, his personality was, he was a little handsome, but unscrupulous. It means he was immoral. Yes, he was easily withdrawing. Unscrupulous means he's bad. I have never met anyone to whom it was more difficult to refuse a loan. Look at, writer comment. I have never met anyone. He's speaking here that उसले यस्तो मान्छेहरू भेट्यो जसबाट उसलाई पैसा दिन, लोन दिन कोही पनि रिफ्युज गर्दैन किनभने उसको बोलीले मक्ख पार्छ. Such romantic people, such careless people, they make people in grief and they asked money, but they never return. He made a steady income. Steady means continuing income from his friends, and he made friends easily. He made friends easily. Look at. But he always said that the money you spend on necessity was boring. Look at what he used to say. The money we spend in necessities. What are necessities, my dear student? Lodging, fooding and clothing. घाँस बाँस कपास यी कुरालाई हामी नेसेसिटी भन्छौँ हाम्रो आवश्यकता यस्तो कुरामा खर्च गरेको त उसलाई त बोरिङ लाग्ने अरे के अनि केमा त इन्ट्रेस्टिङ लाग्ने भन्दाखेरि द मनी द्याट वाज अम्युजिङ टु स्पेन्ड वाज द मनी यु स्पेन्ड अन लग्जरिज यस वाट बाइङ कार्स बाइङ कलरफुल क्लोथ्स एन्ड गोइङ डिस्को डान्स is this life? But he is going this sort of way, my dear student. For this, he depended on his brother George. Yes, whom he depended? His laborious, respectable George, his brother George Ramsey. He did not waste his charm on him. Yes, he did not waste his charm. Okay, he doesn't show his charm on him, but he made a plan to withdraw little and little money easily from his brother. He knew that his brother loved him. Really, everybody loves one brother. Okay, student. I think, did you feel something boring, my dear student? Okay, if you feel boring, because it's a long lesson also. Okay, in middle of study in my class, what I used to do, I share some tips of jokes, Do you want to listen jokes? Just for refreshment, right? Just for your, tips or refreshment. It means related to education, related to your vocabulary or grammar. What happened? There were two friends, One friend said, "Hello friend, do you know how to laugh in English?" He said, "Simple. I can laugh in grammar, articles." He said, "A and the ha 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 ha, A and the ha ha ha." He said, and what A asked to be, "Do you know how to laugh in history and geography?" B said, "No problem. I can make you laugh in history. Have you heard the name of our greatest king, Badamara Dhiraj Prithviraj Shah?" "Why not? I have heard his name. He is the greatest king of our Nepal who unified." And B laughed. How did he laugh? Prithviraj Shah, ha 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 ha. So, to respect Prithviraj Shah, just I made this joke to avoid your monotonous, student. No problem. Now, we are reaching last of this lesson today because we have made cert. He didn't waste his charm on him. It means he tried to get money from his brother George Ramsey. George was a serious man. Look at how was George Ramsey? Serious man, respected man, laborious man. George Ramsey is an ant. He walks. He was a lawyer. Later on in the story we know about him more. And insensible to such enticement. Enticement means what? Greediness. Praloban, what is called. George was respectable. Who was respectable, my dear student? Tom Ramsey or John George Ramsey? Who was respectable? George Ramsey was respectable, honorable. He never go in enticement, He never falls such kind of attraction. Enticement, later in vocabulary I will show you, in attractions. Never. Once or twice he fell to Tom's promises. How you pronounce? Tom's promises. एक दुईचोटि टमको बाचामा पर्यो. Amendment means correction. Okay, my brother may be amend his habit, he will be better. But no, he never changed his track and gave him considerable sums in order that he might make a fresh start. But this man never starts fresh life. Because what happens? The dog's tail, kukuro puchan. Whatever 12 hours you keep in a bucket, it is always curved but never straight. Dog's tail is never straight. Kukurko puchar jasta tastै to sida हुँदैन. भने जस्तै he proved that he is a grasshopper. Okay. Now, dear student, today I'm giving you some meaning of highlighted words. My plan, to teach you the half of the lesson, and because I already mentioned you, this is the long story but interesting one. Full story will complete in the next session. Today, for your benefit, for your easiness, I have presented here meaning of the highlighted words. It means glossary. Look at, we use the words like, we have found the words like gloom. What do you mean by gloom? Great sadness, distress. I hope my student, you are writing in copy, okay? Because you have already asked you should text, you need textbook, notebook and pen for writing. Career, occupation, pesa, hilarious, glad, prafulla, happiness, khushi hunu, black sheep, disgraceful person. It means who was black sheep? Tom Ramji, black sheep. Kulanghar, I am already saying. Decently, nicely, shock, abandon, paritag garnu. Are writing, my dear student? Respectable, it means honorable, sammanit. And who was respectable? George Ramji. Okay, expostulation, it means protest. Bada, virod. Look at amendment, correction. Profoundly, deeply, I think they are simple. Correction means sudhar. Profoundly, deeply means what? Gahiro tarikale. Enticement, before I tell you, temptation, lobh lalsa, attraction. Unscrupulous, thoughtless, meaningless, vichar bihin. Dimag nabhayeko, like Tom Ramji. Now, student, you should have some sort of questions and answer to know the text. All questions I will not do. You should, your part is, again you read and do. Just for your, knowledge, understanding, I have done some questions for you. Read out the question, student. You please with me. Who was a black sheep in Ramsey's family and why? Look at. Tom Ramsey was a black sheep. It means he was a unfortunate, reject person in Ramsey's family because he went against family's pride and prestige. हो त हाम्रो परिवारमा जो यस्तो मान्छे हुन्छ परिवारको इज्जतलाई माटोमा मिलाउँछ त्यस्तो मान्छे त ब्ल्याक शिप नभएर के हुन्छ त व्हाइट शिप हुन्छ you think it. You should read deeply the text and know it. Next question. Why was George Ramsey staring to space? Why George Ramsey was staring to space? टल्ल पर किन हेरिरहेको थियो बिचारा त्यत्रो उलाई पहाडै खसे जस्तो फर्स्ट paragraph we got him. George Ramsey was staring into space because he looked as if the burden of the whole world sat on his shoulder. संसारभरिको दुःख चाहिँ उसैको थाप्लोमा आए जस्तो भएर बिचारा ऊ आकाशतिर एकोरो भएर हिँडिरहेको थियो. Okay? Now my student, read out the last question of today's passage. Why did Tom leave his work and wife? This is the major question. किन आफ्नो काम र आफ्नो प्यारी श्रीमती छोड्यो भन्दा त्यो त ग्रासहोपर हो नि त. He left his work and wife because he thought he was not suited for marriage. He said he was not suited for marriage and did not like to carry out his duties and like to enjoy his life freely. Yes, he wanted to enjoy the life freely. He doesn't want to confine on the walls of marriage and the work. Okay, student, I think you got some ideas about this lesson, and in next classes, we do the last other paragraphs of the story. You should please take your interest for studies. My students are very good. They are understanding students. You should not irritate your parents. You should be engage your mind for studies. Telling this much, stay safe, stay healthy, be creative, optimistic, and we'll meet in the next class. Thank you, my dear students, and namaste to my respected guardian. Thank you so much. Thank you, all the best.